Yes, indeed. You know what? I'm going to make this easier and put this on the touchscreen and this on the TV. All right, so that's the way she blows. So then I can touch the screen and it won't make as much noise. All right.
So it won't make as much noise.
All right. I mean, oh wait, Chris Baker. Ovechkin scores his 8th. The Sabres need to get one tomorrow to keep pace with him. Retweet.
I feel like some team has like 4 goals in 3 games. All right. Yeah, the Sabres have way more than that, right?
The Sabres have the lowest goals per game average in the NHL.
Oh wow, okay.
If that makes you feel any better, that was another number I saw. Do you now feel better?
No. The answer is
okay. Let's just start the pod.
Okay.
Who got hurt for Tampa Bay last game?
I can look at their hockey viz. And
Someone must have. Yeah, it's Johnson and Killorn, and they don't have a line mate.
They played 7 defensemen.
Oh, you're right. All right, fuck it.
They do that a lot.
Fuck it.
Which makes Kucherov like a million times better of a play.
Yeah.
He just goes out there every other shift.
Yeah.
He's like Erik Karlsson, but on offense.
But yeah. I mean, you're just jamming him in there. You're just not even slightly placing. Just like, let's insert him right in your lineup. All right, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready now.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morningscape Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to go over the Thursday slate on DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey. So, how you doing, DJ?
I'm doing good. Wednesday, it's Wednesday, my dude. So let's get right into the Thursday slate. You know what? I just did what you do that we hate, and I mentioned the day it was actually instead of the day they're listening. So that was fun. But yeah, I'm just ready to get into a larger 7-game slate. Not the biggest one we've had, but definitely a bigger one. So, yeah.
Yeah, early on it seems like they're keeping the games per day more staggered than last year. I remember vividly last year we would go from 11 games to 2 games to 13 games to 1 game to 12. And this year, at least early on, we'll see. I'm sure we can look ahead if you really wanted to. But for now, I really enjoy the kind of steady stream of just medium-sized slates. So hopefully we can get on a little roll here. Wednesday night's action really hasn't picked up yet. Toronto, New Jersey's been an interesting game. A lot of no-name scoring for New Jersey.
I told Tyson Berry from Matt Duchene.
Interesting. So yeah, and then obviously Pittsburgh and Washington. Let's see, that game's almost over, but Ovi just scored, which is nice. But could use that Kessel. I know Kessel was my guaranteed goal yesterday, so
yeah,
could really use that one there, Mr. Phil. But anyways, anything else that you wanted to say about, I don't know, your day or the slate or anything?
No, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to hear about my day? Are you asking me to talk about my day? Because it's really nice.
I certainly don't want to hear about your day, but
it was busy. I had an accounting quiz. I had to go to a talk about mental health issues because I run the soup kitchen. I had to learn about how to deal with them better. Yeah, it was fun.
That's wonderful. I'm sure my mom will love to hear how you're doing, DJ. So
doing well. Mama Moods doing well.
Okay, so what we're gonna do this time? There's no Doug. He is doing that grad school life of loads of homework. He sent me a question that I didn't. He's like, "Oh, do you know what a Lagrange multiplier is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of that. It's like Calc 3 stuff." And then he sends me that, and there's like 17 different equations, and it's like, hint, you can think of the Lagrange when doing this. And it's like, no, actually, you can't, because this is ridiculous. So
it's pronounced Lagrange.
Thoughts and prayers.
I'm just kidding.
And prayers. Thoughts and prayers to Doug Levy as he attempts this homework, which does not seem even remotely possible.
Also, fact checker just came in, and actually Alex Kerfoot is being given credit to the goal.
Alex Kerfoot.
You mentioned him on the pod last time, and we were like, nah.
Oh, Doug was talking about it.
Doug was talking about, yeah.
Okay.
So he was mentioned, so we called it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That was Doug's guaranteed goal. No, it wasn't.
Was it?
But
No,
we
it wasn't.
can pretend it was.
We can pretend. All right, let's move on to the Thursday slate, though. We have 7 games. We got Pittsburgh at Tampa Bay, St. Louis at Florida, Dallas at Nashville, Minnesota at Chicago, Winnipeg at Vancouver, Detroit against Arizona in the Losers Bowl. Actually, just kidding. Buffalo at San Jose in the Super Losers Bowl. I spoke too soon there about the Toilet Bowl game. We have 2 on the slate. Heads up, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I am going to watch on Thursday and watch my Sabres play. I'm definitely going to be up, and I'm definitely going to be sad. So let's move on to brighter news and talk about a game. Oh, Matt, how about you just tell everyone how we're going to run this podcast?
Yeah, so we normally go position by position, but in listening back a little bit, I kind of feel like we end up repeating the same things over and over again when we get to different teams and kind of the situations that they're in. And so I think at least we're going to try for a bit. We're going to just go game by game and break down the news you need to know, the line changes, the injuries, and then guys who are performing well and, their relative DraftKings prices and how they kind of fit into the slate. So if you ever have any feedback, we'll mention this at the end of the show as well, but feel free to tweet at us at MorningscapePod and let us know your thoughts, or you can leave a review on iTunes. I know DJ has been harping on that, so don't make
Still
DJ
haven't gotten
cry.
any, I don't think. I'm gonna check again. I'll check again. I'll read them live. I will sing them. If you leave us a 5-star review, I will sing it live on the podcast.
You cannot pass that offer up. So
you don't want to pass that up.
Certainly. So, like I said, if you have feedback and if you want us to do it a certain way or have, just critiques or anything like that, feel free to send them through. But we're going to start with Pittsburgh at Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh is on a road back-to-back, so they will be in Tampa. But the first thing you notice on this slate is that Nikita Kucherov is below 7,000. DJ, are my eyes deceiving me here, or is Nikita Kucherov not the most expensive player on this slate?
Yeah, if you play cash and you don't lock him in before you start doing anything else, then you're wrong. Like, he's just locked. He's just such a slam dunk lock that it hurts. Like, he should be 8K.
Like, it's not even like he's someone who's like hit or miss because his coach doesn't really use him all that much if they're winning. Like no, if Kucherov is on, like, in the lineup, he is playing 20 minutes. Last game he played 25 minutes because John Cooper decided the role of 7 defensemen rather than the standard 6. So, one less forward means that much more ice time. So it's just the initial, like, oh my God, like, just play that guy. Stamkos still feels a little bit too cheap. I don't hate, I should say there's a lot of viable center options, especially, Sagan's the same price, Malkin, Eichel's a bit cheaper. Like, all of those guys are very much in play. So I definitely don't think Stamkos is a must play, but I think Kucherov is just as lockety lock as it gets because of his shot rate and just, he's performing right now. So, there's no reason for him to be this inexpensive. So, any other names on Tampa that really jump out at you?
Yeah.
I know Braden Point's been on fire.
Braden Point was where I was going. He might end up being kind of chalky just because of how well he's done to start the year. Of course, I just accidentally clicked out of the page I was on. But yeah, at 4,800 on DraftKings at center, he is already up to 7 points in 3 games. But I think you might kind of get, I don't know if I want to say confusing or whatever, but he is not, like, his stackable options are kind of weird. Like, you could put him with Palat, I guess, and, like, that would be a stack. But then you're kind of going power play 2 and avoiding the Kucherov exposure that you want. So I don't know. I feel like he's more of a one-off play tomorrow in cash, potentially also in GPP. But Yeah.
So for me, I think especially if they only roll 11 forwards again, I think you can. There's a legit argument for just putting in, a couple or three of these Tampa Bay forwards and just letting them have at it. Um, it's a necessity essentially with only 11 forwards to really roll your centers around with different combos and things like that. And so Point's been getting the minutes. I don't expect that to change just because Cooper is really reliant on his better players. Probably one of the more, you know, uh, I guess, aggressive coaches in that sense. He plays his stars for the most amount of time. Um, so I don't mind stacking Point with Kucherov and hoping on the shift that they're together, they both produce. But I think your point is valid. They're not on the same power play unit right now. So that's a consideration. But for me, it's not as big of a deal if they only play 11 forwards.
Well, yeah, they had 4 forwards go for over 20 minutes with Nemestikov, Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov. So you could really roll all 4 of them. I mean, at least you could roll Kucherov, Stamkos, and Point and just try to like hope that the Tampa Bay onslaught goes off. And you're gonna want to put them with Hedman too, probably, which is pretty break the bank. Yeah, but Strawman and Hedman get 26 minutes, and those 4 forwards that I mentioned get a ton of ice time. So there's gonna be correlation kind of throughout with everyone. So yeah, those are all good points.
Yep.
All those guys are in play, and then for Pittsburgh, I mean, I kind of expect them. Crosby just kind of always gets taken. Gensel's price went down a little bit. Hornqvist is super cheap. If he ends up getting power play one time, I think he's in play, but I don't think he is today thus far, but that could change.
They did some weird stuff.
Yeah, so it could change.
So they opened up the third period with Crosby's even strength line and 2 defensemen on the power play, and they scored. So I don't know, if that'll actually hold, but that was really interesting. So I don't think we know for certain. I really like Phil Kessel. He dropped down in price again, and he's on pace to play about 19 to 20 minutes in this game tonight. So, well, I guess the game's almost over. So he's at 19. He's down at 6,000 again. I don't think he's the top cash play in that range. I think that'll be Evander Kane, but we can talk about that in a bit. But I think he's probably my favorite wing on Pittsburgh, with Guentzel as a consideration. But I would want to see like what HockeyViz says about how they ran their power plays. It seemed to me like Hornqvist was in Guentzel's role for like the beginning portion of the game, but I wasn't attentively watching for those sort of moves.
Okay.
And then
to the next game. Oh no, sorry.
I think Victor Hedman's worth a mention. He's playing a boatload of minutes, and Anton Strawman as well, just because he's getting minutes in power play time at a very, very cheap salary. I don't know. So Justin Schultz is playing on the first power play. I don't know if that puts him in play, but he is only 4,500. Last year when he was up on that first power play, he got up to 6,000. So you are getting a decent amount of value there, but I don't think there's any sort of must plays on defense here, but just a few good ones.
Yeah, I agree. There's stackable options here, but no one that's an absolute lock in cash by any means.
Okay, we can go to the next game. We have St. Louis at Florida. I think maybe the main thing to note, just news-wise, is that last game, I think it was in the middle of the game at some point, but Tarasenko ended up shedding Sobotka on his line and picking up Ivan Barbashev. If you'll remember from last season, Barbashev was a rather talented rookie who came up towards the end of the year and actually ended up playing with Tarasenko a little bit. So they have some connection. What are your thoughts on St. Louis going against this Florida team? And do you have any interest in either side?
Yeah, no, I think both sides have some interest at least. There's definitely some players that I think are should be considered. Tarasenko is considered every single night without question. Like his raw ability is just so DFS relevant. Barbashev, if he's confirmed buying, well, I guess whatever you want to consider the lines, but with Tarasenko, he is super cheap, so he's in consideration. But he, as of last game, had no power play time, which does hurt his value as far as like locking him in as a cash option or anything. Like he's 3.7K on DraftKings, but with not power play time, it's kind of tough. On the Florida side of things, Vincent Trocheck had 26 minutes of ice time last game, which was definitely driven up by his penalty killing time. Like he is one player that plays power play, a penalty kill. He plays everything. That could also lead to more blocked shots or what have you, but him on the penalty kill doesn't really help you DFS wise unless he blocks a shot, which isn't really his game. He did have just dropped something. He did have 4 shots on goal. How loud was that? Scale of 1 to 10.
I heard it. It wasn't like jump worthy or anything.
All right. Well, sorry guys. He had 4 shots on goal. His price is 6K against St. Louis, but I'm really not as afraid to play against St. Louis anymore. They had a great game against the Rangers, but their defense just doesn't scare me like it used to. So Florida on about 3 or 4 days rest, I think is in play, and Trocheck with other guys in that power play one, such as maybe even Dadonov, could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Florida is one of those teams we only have 2 games from to look at in terms of like their sample from this year, and both of them came against Tampa. Interestingly, they really dominated in terms of 5-on-5, and I tend to weight that a little bit more because I think Tampa is going to be an excellent team this year. So I think some takeaways, like you mentioned, Trocheck is, he's not their number 1 center, but he is certainly their number 1. Like he's kind of like the Ryan O'Reilly, I would say. Like you can probably expect him to play more minutes than Jack Eichel. Do I think he's more?
Yeah, but I think he has a better upside with his shot. Like I think his shot's really like pretty elite. Not maybe like super elite, but like elite.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I think he has a better chance to score. Like I don't know his like, what is it, goal probability, but I bet it's higher than O'Reilly.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying, and I do agree. I still think if I were looking to, one, I'm not looking to stack this game because I don't target St. Louis at all. Like that's just not something I like to do, and it seems like they've borne that out pretty well this season. I know I was reading after played against the Rangers something about Jaden Schwartz being a Selke candidate or like underrated perennially for his defense, and like I didn't even know he was good defensively. I just knew they had guys like Stastny and Steen, who's injured right now. And then they're really strong defense. So, I mean, there's just a lot of strong defensive talent on that team. And as I'll say, pretty much every pod until we have more updated stats from this year. Last year, with the top 6 on the ice, St. Louis was just shut down. So, for me, I think it's Evgeny Dadonov or nothing. Dadonov seems to be fitting in well with his team, and he's only 5,000, playing power play 1 and line 1 alongside Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau. And both of those guys are a bit more expensive. I think in the long term, Huberdeau's not going to shoot quite as much, so I would prefer Dadonov there. But on the St. Louis side, I did want to mention Alex Pietrangelo, after starting out at 5.3 at the beginning of the season and then putting up that just monster game that he had against Pittsburgh, on this slate, he is up to 6,300. So he has gone up a full $1,000. Do you think he warrants this price? Where do you stand on him versus the kind of other elite defensemen on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that I feel like DraftKings, their price increases is so like point dependent. Like if like for example, Eichel had a dud last game, so he went down. I mean, obviously that's how it works, but sometimes it's like you have to look into the underlying numbers of what led to that instead of just like the assist. Do you know offhand, was that a primary assist in the last game or a secondary assist? I mean, maybe not, but like you got to look into this kind of stuff. If you're going to try to take a jump on a guy at 6'3", when he was just down at a reasonable price, I don't know if I'm buying it for cash and by any means, but I think he's in play stackable. I just don't think you can make like he's not nearly as good of a player as he was. If that makes sense. Like I'd have to look into these underlying numbers a lot more before I would be able to make a decision.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I think just a good rule of thumb is just a week ago he would have been cheaper than Ristolainen, well, I guess Klingberg was cheaper back then too, but Bufflin, Hedman, Letang, Subban, Yossi. Now he's more expensive than each of those players, and I just don't really see the reason, because not only are you paying more for him, but you're also likely fighting off a lot of the point chasers. People are going to look at the slate and they're going to see, wow, 6.4 fantasy points per game. That's awesome. And, I think he's a fine play, but I'm a bit more price sensitive, and I hate playing guys after they jump up this high of salary. So I will certainly be looking towards the Nashville top tier defenseman
yeah.
as my top options, which we can cover on the next game. Do you have any
Yeah.
more plays from St. Louis, Florida you want to talk about?
No more plays. I just was gonna say, like, I feel like this game pace wise, it's kind of hard to tell this early in the season how teams are gonna play, especially with a new coach in St. Louis and a new coach in Florida, kinda ish. So it's like I want to make sure I understand the pace levels they're gonna play at before I really start like going big stacks in a game. So I don't think either of these teams are worth a 3-man GPP stack, and then the next game is more of the reason why.
Yeah.
When you have a game like this.
So I will just jump right into Dallas and Nashville. What I wanted to touch on, the big news from Tuesday's slate was that Roman Josi was ill, I believe. So he missed morning skate and then ended up sitting out the entire game. Well, I mean, he didn't even dress, so obviously he was either hurt or, and we're not sure which, I believe. I want to say I saw something that Adam Vingan tweeted that he was sick. So I would half expect him to play. Like, I'm leaning more towards he plays against Dallas. But if he doesn't, PK Subban, even at 6,200 when he's, like probably the third, I mean, he is the third most expensive defenseman on the slate then. I think he's the top defensive play. I mean, he went on to the power play 1 last game with no Josi and he had 3 assists, 2 of which were on the power play 1. So, I mean, PK Subban's just an all around, he's just really good. And with no Josi, that only puts more of the burden on him. So I think that's really where you should be looking for this game. But obviously, there's a lot of good players on both sides of this game. So do you want to walk us through maybe some of the forwards?
Yeah. I mean, the first line for Dallas absolutely got the bulk of the shit. Like they get so much ice time and all together and correlated. I mean, they all were out there for 21, 21, and 20 minutes respectively with Sagan, Radulov, Ben. That's all together. And I don't know, Ben must have just been a little bit behind for getting off the ice a little bit earlier than them or whatever. And then all on the power play together. It's just like they're so stackable every night. And I think if Josi is out, like Nashville still, I mean, they just haven't given up goals in bunches. I think it could be partially goaltending. It could be partially, early in the year, new guys. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I really like the Dallas side of this game. I feel like I think the pace will be high. I think Subban is an excellent play. But yeah, the lines for Nashville were really weird, and we should probably touch on those. And I'm not exactly positive what they'll look like for next game, but they definitely did some changing when Philly got up on them. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think if you're playing Dallas, you gotta look at that top line. That's what
I'm actually pretty disappointed I didn't stick around to watch the end of that game because it seemed like it was pretty wild. So
yeah, I turned it on for a little bit towards the end, but I'm pretty busy with night classes normally, so it's hard to watch a ton of hockey, sadly.
Yeah, so what it looks like they did is it looks like they flip-flopped Philip Forsberg and Craig Smith, meaning that it was Arvidsson, Johansson, Smith, and then Kevin Fiala, Kaya Jarnkrok, and Forsberg. So we'll keep an eye on Morning Skate and be sure to follow us on Twitter. We'll retweet whatever we find about that. But Kevin Fiala is like just incredible. If he's playing at 5-on-5 with Philip Forsberg, and it looks like he even got one work with Matt Johansson, Forsberg, Arvidsson, like power play one. That is a phenomenal spot. I am definitely high on the Stars this year. Like, I think they'll be really good. With that said, I mean, Kevin Fiala at 4.1, given his talent, given his shooting ability in the minors, he was a very strong shot producer. So I think he's going to be a top play, but keep an eye on the news because that can be washed away like that just because Nashville's a little bit top heavy talent wise.
And I guess another note, actually, did Ekholm play? Was he on the power play game 1, power play 2? Like before Yossi was out? I think he was, right?
Yes.
I think if Yossi's out, it really puts Ekholm in a cash viable position. With Yossi out, he had 26 minutes of ice time. A lot of that, he got a lot of penalty kill time, not a lot of power play time, but he was out there for power play too. So I just feel like if you're getting 26 minutes out of him at 3.8, he has a pretty decent floor. He will shoot the puck. He might not have the best Corsi per 60 of all time, but I think at 3.8, you have to consider him if he's going to get 26 minutes of ice time. Like, that's a pretty elite spot. But then again, that's kind of barring Yossi being out. And I don't think he will be. Yeah. It's kind of up in the air for sure.
Oh, yeah, certainly up in the air.
No news yet that I can find about what will happen there.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the top 2 games are the 2 we just talked about. Let's get to some more of them. But before we do that, Doug sent me a text and just wanted me to inform the listeners that Kerfoot and Cogliano both scored. If you look at the sim really liked those guys, and I had no idea why, but what do you know? The sim knows. So
the sim knows all.
Bow down to Doug Levy. Let's just see it if you sort by. Okay, yeah, there.
Yeah, I totally forgot to tweet our guaranteed goals because I was in class and I just thought of it way too late. So sorry for that, but they were on the podcast, so the real fans know.
Right, for sure. So let's move on to Minnesota at Chicago. So Chicago's looked pretty fire this year, DJ. How does that make you feel that Chicago might be the class of the league yet again?
I'll wait. I'm going to wait it out, and I'm not going to give up on them being – wait, I had them in the playoffs in the end, didn't I? No, I am just outside.
Yeah, you had them missing.
I had them missing by, like, points. But I'm not done with that yet. Their defense still isn't that good. Like, I'm not sold on this team. I mean, they gave up a decent lead to a young ragtag group of Toronto Maple Leafs without a defense. So, you know what? Like, I'm not going to do anything.
To be fair, only giving up 4 goals against the Maple Leafs might be a badge of honor this season. Just saying.
They lost. That's all that matters in my books. But no, this is going to be a really fun game. Like, I really am excited to watch this one. Minnesota Chicago is just like that. This is a game I got to see live before, and it just always holds a special place in my heart. But I'm just excited. Like, I just love these 2 teams, and we should probably just get into the DFS relevance of them before I start just talking about different players. But Matt, you had some news on Minnesota that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, Michael Granlund is out for the next 4 games, according to a report. So what I saw is Marcus Foligno is going to step up alongside Mikko Koivu and Jason Zucker. I mean, obviously, don't play Mikael Granlund, but I think this really opens up time for someone like Niederreiter. I mean, he has played 17 minutes on average in the 2 games that they've played this season, along with power play time. And Niederreiter is someone who, if you're a longtime listener, you know I love him. I love his game. And for sub 5K, I think he's a great play. I'm just going to check out their power plays real quick.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like – want me to say what on HockeyViz?
Yeah, if you're looking at it.
Riley, Dumba, Zucker, Coyle, Stahl, and then Suter, Ennis, Niederreiter, Koivu, Spurgeon. That
Okay.
could subject to change, but I would be confident in those lines going.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting.
Yeah, I don't know which one's more of one, and they look like they got pretty even share of it last time they played, which was a few days ago. So a- again, I'd keep an eye on morning skate. They've been off for a few days. Like they'll probably do a full morning skate and give us a better indication of what the Lions and power plays will look like.
Yep, I totally agree there. So on defense, Jared Spurgeon played 28 minutes last game.
Hmm.
Confirmed, good at hockey, and he is below 5K. He
And who was to
hasn't
confirm that?
I am willing to go out on a limb and say Jared Spurgeon is very good for both real hockey and daily fantasy. If you look at his 2 games he's played this year, he only has 3 combined blocks plus shots. But if you're gonna make a judgment off of that, like just stop. So
Like a Spurgeon. I'm sorry.
Please, no one leave that in the comments or in the review, because I do not want to hear DJ sing that again. So on the Chicago side.
Wait. Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing really quick?
Go.
While we're on the topic of Spurgeon. All right. So let's say you have 4-7. You're playing Spurgeon over Seabrook in 99 of 100 lineups or 100 out of 100 lineups. Even though fantasy points per dollar wise.
Okay, get this, but Brent Seabrook is now playing with Duncan Keith at 5-on-5. So please,
they're covering up Keith. I mean, they're covering up Keith with Seabrook. That's good. That was a joke. All right, I'm sorry. I tried to make it, and then I thought I messed it up, but I made it. That was a joke.
Good for you.
Because Seabrook's not good anymore. That's the joke.
Right. So I'm not gonna say I will guarantee that Spurgeon is a better play than Seabrook, just because Seabrook is very active in blocking shots, and he's not afraid to shoot the puck, for lack of a better term. So I think they're both pretty fine plays, especially if you look at the overall slate on defense. Once you go below 4K, there's a few decent options, like we mentioned Justin Schultz. Granted the power play time, but there's not a whole lot of standout names unless you go kind of into that mid-5 and above range. So I think that those 2 names are pretty decent salary relief options. So going back to Chicago, last game against the just lit up at 5-on-5 for the first, period and 10 minutes. It was just ugly, but Montreal could not score. So they did some line juggling, and I cannot confirm that this will hold into today's game. But they had Patrick Kane playing primarily with Tommy Wingles and John Hayden. They left the first line of Panic, Taze, and Saad alone, and then they were playing Anisimov and Hartman, who were with Kane, with Lance Boma. So I'm just going to say no thanks. I'm not interested. Maybe I'll play Keith or Seabrook, but I want no part of attacking a Minnesota team that I think is going to be a very excellent defensive team again. And, just be wary of their lines, essentially.
Yeah, no, I feel like both teams, it's going to be wait till tomorrow, check their lines, make sure you get the correlation you want in GPPs. But was there any guy that we've mentioned that is a super cash viable option besides Spurgeon? I feel like he's kind of a debatable one, but is there anyone that you think is more cash viable?
I think it'll depend on your feelings on some of these later games, but I think Niederreiter is cash viable given that he's playing 17 to 18 minutes, and with Granlund out, that could even bump up a little bit. But the power play role is going to be there, and he's just a very solid 5-on-5 player. So I don't mind him. I don't think he is a must play or anything. On the Chicago side, I'm very much out.
Do you think Minnesota still goes 7 defensemen?
Did they go 7 defensemen last game?
Yes. That's what I mean. That's what it says. So
So my guess is that is because, I mean, yeah, I was not tracking news up till lock on Saturday.
Yeah.
But my guess is that Granlund was a late scratch of sorts, or they couldn't get someone to the game fast enough. So they probably just rolled 7 defensemen for that reason. But
all right, that was my question. I'll hang up and listen now. All right, so I think we're good on that front. We I think kind of covered that game. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Why don't we move over to Winnipeg, Vancouver? I'll point out one stat that I found, which is again an extremely small sample size, and it probably shouldn't even be mentioned. But Vancouver has been the worst Corsi team as far as giving up Corsi and not actually producing Corsi for themselves. I like Winnipeg for a lot more than just that reason, but I think that Winnipeg is a very stackable team against Vancouver, which isn't really a hot take at all. It's more of like a duh, but we'll talk about it.
So yeah, I have an interesting stat that I found in examining the slate. Yeah, Nick Ehlers had a natural hat trick and an assist last game, so he scored 16 freaking DK points.
Like I mentioned, at that price, I would have been fine with that in daily fantasy football.
Yeah, I wish I had a running back who could get me 16 and a half points.
You didn't play the Fournette train like I did because you know he's my boy. You know he's my boy. All right.
Nor the Melvin Gordon train.
I was out, dude. I had one lineup with both of them, and it made me money.
I totally missed the Express.
Oh my god!
I jumped right onto that Todd Gurley death train because I hate pills and water.
I almost just want to hang up the podcast. You went on the Todd Gurley train when you.
Dude, Evan Silva was drinking the Kool-Aid, DJ.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can't just drink the Silva Kool-Aid all the time. That's not how it works. Okay, well, I have some good news, though, that comes from our Winnipeg boy, Ken Wiebe, or is it Wiebe? We couldn't decide.
Wiebe. I think it's
it's Wiebe. He did post their power plays, their defensive pairings, and their lines. So we have accurate information, but the good news is it's all looking exactly the same. But I am seeing Josh Morrissey on the power play 1. Was that what they did last game, too?
Wait, what?
Power play 1, Morrissey, Wheeler, Line, Scheifele, Parento. So Josh Morrissey, if that holds. I retweeted it too, it looks like. Did I retweet it?
Oh my.
No, I retweeted it. I'm retweeting it again. Just to give it. They did do that last game. So we just didn't notice it till right now.
Oh my god. The slate is broken. Like,
the slate is broken. So for all of our listeners,
Buffalo didn't play.
Yeah, he was hurt.
He's done. Well, is he out tomorrow as well?
Well,
he's out.
He's out tomorrow.
Oh boy.
So
he is confirmed out.
For our listeners, Josh Morrissey is very in play tomorrow. He played 23 and a half minutes. He had 4 blocks plus shots and no points. So no one's going to be like, oh, look at Josh Morrissey. He had a great game because he really didn't have that great of a game. But tomorrow is a blow-up spot against one of the worst Corsi teams.
WHL, correct? Josh Morrissey?
I almost am positive. So you look that up while I continue on the Morrissey bandwagon. So first off, you can pair him with anyone you want because he's with all of the GOATs on the power play. Vancouver also gives up a ton of power plays. This is just everything.
Yeah. So I typed in the WHL page, and for 2014, he was the first name that popped up. So
oh my God, that's all we needed.
That was pretty exciting.
Are we live? I mean, all right, but can we afford him at 3,100 on DraftKings?
Oh my God! Do you know the names? Jesus, DJ. So, in the year 2013, when Shea Theodore, Josh Morrissey, and Ryan Pulock were all in their age 18 seasons.
Oh my God, that was the best year. That was the best year.
They were 1, 2, and 3 in the WHL for defensemen in primary points.
In that order, like Morrissey, Theodore,
Pulock.
Oh my God. Just put them all in my lineup if I could, but I can't because, one is in the 2 are in the AHL, and okay. All right. Well, that is. I think we're done with that game now. I think that's it.
Well, I mean, astute listeners to the pod would know that I absolutely love Shea Theodore and Ryan Pulock. So when I tell you there was someone who, in 10 less games in each of those two, put up more points, so obviously way more points per game, level and age range, like, you got to know that I love Josh Morrissey.
But you know what's gonna happen now?
What's that?
Winnipeg power play 2, Tyler Myers is gonna have a hat trick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean,
But
now
no,
that we just okay, go back.
Josh Morrissey, just lock him in.
He's very cash, very cash. Yeah, and if you're just like me and you're gonna ride that chalk train of Winnipeg and you're just gonna throw that line A, I mean, I don't know. I almost want to go line A, Wheeler, Morrissey, just to really throw all that in there just for fun.
I'm about it.
I'm not even mad about it. I'm making a lineup right now. I'm done of the podcast. Matt, you continue.
Yeah, so Winnipeg play Morrissey. Their big forwards are very much in play. I don't think there's any must plays in that group, but they're all fine plays. Vancouver, don't play any Vancouver Canucks. If you need a cheap defenseman, play Josh Morrissey. But Alex Edler is also, just don't even bother.
It would only be Edler. You know who led their team in defense as far as minutes last game? Michael Delzato.
Jesus.
Like, they're a train wreck. Like, they're going to give up so many goals. All right, that's it. Play literally every Winnipeg player you possibly can. Lock it in. No, I'm just kidding. But really, like, it's bad. It's not good. And, I mean, you have Vanek with the Sedins, so you have a line that literally skates at -4 miles per hour out there all at once. So, like, if they're on the ice and Line A just boom right by them. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is a setup for, I think, a blow-up game for Winnipeg.
Or just Josh Morrissey.
So, just a quick example of what Vancouver can do. They scored 2 goals with the Sedins and Vanek and gave up 2 goals with the Sedins and Vanek. So, like, they're just, you know what I mean, Matt? Like, that line is so boom or bust, but I think they're going to get out. They're going to get manhandled by Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a very valid assumption.
We can move on now.
Don't play any Vancouver Canucks. Okay, Detroit and Arizona. Arizona has taken me to the cleaners twice in a row.
Yeah, they hate me. They're not a fan of me.
Going against the Golden Knights. Let's just not even talk about that. Detroit is also bad.
They literally, like, I was so set. I was like, Antti Ranta, just give me a good outing. Like, I didn't even care if we got the win. Just give me a good. Don't get pulled in the first period. Like, come on, man. Oh, I would have made money, and not even like a ton, but just money. Like, I just wanted some. Okay, I'm done now. We can move on.
So you know how Yager's playing for Calgary? He is not on the first power play unit.
Ooh, he was on the third line too, which I thought was kind of not what I expected.
What are they doing?
Not the right things. I mean,
who else is out there? TJ Brody. But okay.
Okay, of course. But okay.
Yeah, I just this game is so ugly to me that I don't want to talk about it. But everybody is so cheap.
Yeah.
That we have to talk about it.
You could full game sack both first lines, first power plays, and still have some money to spare. Like it's.
You could play 2 goalies with the money left over.
Yeah, it's just I'm assuming someone will score a goal. Like, I don't think it's gonna be a 0-0 winner in a shootout. That's just the defenses are pretty bad. So conundrum.
Yeah, that's really the whatever the opposite of the immovable object and the unstoppable force. Whatever the opposite of that is what this game is. So, I mean, I don't think it's Zetterberg. Larkin he never really suits my fancy, but he's kind of playing on their most dynamic line with Frick and Mantha, so
yeah,
he's there. And
it totally power play correlates with what I thought was their power play 1, but they definitely downright split him up. And then, I mean, so it's Frick, Larkin, Mantha, Green, and I'll never score a goal, Sheehan. So at least you know that, if that line scores and you take that line, one of them is going to have a goal. Because Riley Sheehan won't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
no,
sure.
but both teams, it feels like there's just no like slam dunks, like no lines or defensemen that are getting it. Like Oliver Ekman Larson should be getting 26 minutes a night. There's no reason he got 22 in the same as Goligoski. You know what I mean? It's just the coaching styles aren't leading to a more optimal DFS plays. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I that makes perfect sense. I have really high hopes for Ekman Larson, but I mean, even though it's only been 3 games, I'm kind of in the prove it point, just because there are always so many good defensive options. Like, I just do not think you should be taking, not unnecessary risks as much as it is just like wait for someone to like you can afford to wait for someone to prove it. The prices don't jump up that fast. Like, obviously, we just talked about Petrangelo. He went up 1,000, but it took 2 extra games for them to do that. So I don't know. I will be playing anyone from this game, but if I had to pick one, it would either be I think it would either be Clayton Keller or Mike Green. Mike Green is he's always been kind of one of my favorite sneaky defensemen, just because I like his game for DFS. He's not a shoot first player, but he's very offensively inclined. Oh my God, he has 6 assists in 3 games this year. That's pretty good, but
He's getting a lot of ice time.
Yeah, and that too. They have no one else to give ice time to, so
Literally,
they just give it all to Mike Green, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
Maybe in this game, Arizona can take some notes because, Ekman Larson should be.
Yeah, I mean, I still like Christian Dvorak. I mean, he definitely has a floor on him, and I think there's something there. I really do like him as a player, but I don't know what their lines changed so much during the game against Vegas that he ended up getting 18 minutes and power play 1 time. So that's good, but I don't know where he's going to slot in tomorrow. Like the line, it looks like he was with Lawson Krause and Christian Fischer for a while. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm fully expecting lines to change after getting embarrassed by Vegas the way they did. So I would just keep an eye out for it. For stacks, it's going to be really tough to pinpoint. So we can probably move on to the next game, the last game.
Yeah, I think I'm more inclined to go with that Mantha line with Mike Green if I sack that game. So Buffalo, San Jose, the 2 worst teams when you open up the standings page. These 2 are there. Do they belong there?
Yes.
Well, they do, because they will suck to start the year. But will they end up there? I don't believe so.
Buffalo will. Wait, can I say my favorite stat from today?
Okay.
Ovechkin scores his 8th goal. This is coming from Chris Baker at Sabres Prospects. I'm not going to steal it. Scored his 8th goal. The Sabres need to get 1 tomorrow to keep pace with him. The Sabres have 7 goals, and Ovechkin has 8. And
that is a sad state of affairs.
To add to that, the Sabres have the lowest goals per game average. They suck. They hate me. I hate myself because I love them so much. It's just a vicious cycle that I'm probably going to go and buy more Ben and Jerry's tonight and eat a whole tub.
Luckily, in America, you can buy a gun wherever as well. So.
Okay, well, that's really dark, Matt. Jesus. I'm sad. I'm not come on.
I mean, sometimes you just got to shoot up at the stars,
Yeah. I am in. Never mind. Okay, so back to the Sabres. I feel like if there's a team, and the thing is because I follow the Sabres very closely, so I'm listening to the post game show, and they seem like they completely get it. I feel like every team does. Like every team probably say the same things they said, but there's just so much talent on this Sabres team and San Jose team that I feel like you can't just look at these 3 games and just beat them up about it enough. I mean, a couple bad games midway through the year, and no one bats really an eye. It's like, a couple bad games with the Sabres, they'll bounce back. To start the year, it gets magnified for both teams, not just the Sabres. But they're changing up the lines. They're adding new players in. It definitely is going to lead to some different plays. But I think if you're a fan of the San Jose Sharks or Buffalo Sabres, it's not time to give up. So let's get into the plays now. And Brent Burns is really cheap.
Brent Burns is cheaper than Patrick Kane. He is cheaper than Vladimir Tarasenko. He is cheaper than Sidney Crosby. These are all guys that he completely demolished in fantasy scoring last season. And, I don't really expect that to change all that much. So 7.7 is a totally reasonable price for Brent Burns, especially with guys like Morrissey that we just talked about. Like, there are some value guys to save you some money. And, Brent Burns is playing a ton of minutes still. It's not like any of that's changed. So I think he's a phenomenal play. The lone bright spot to start this season for the Buffalo Sabres, Evander Kane has 26 shots on goal in 3 games. His game logs are 11 shots in the opener, 8 shots, and then 7 shots. That's just silly. So I don't care what price you are, I will play you if you are going to get 6 shots on net. And he has cleared that bar in every game this year. So, even if he doesn't score, he's still putting up that floor. Line changes as of today have Evander Kane on the first power play unit.
Yes.
Yeah. I think even more so than Brent Burns, if I were to play one player from this game, it would be Evander Kane. And that is a very bold statement, I think, for myself, given how much I love Brent Burns. So.
Yeah, I really think it's Kane and Burns from this game. I'm definitely – you always got to consider Jack Eichel, especially at this price. I know he laid a goose egg, which definitely hurt my bottom line last time out against New Jersey. But, I'm fully – I don't think San Jose is nearly as strong this year as they have been in the past. I don't think they're a lot better than how they've played. But I'm not afraid of this defense too much. Vlasic's a great defenseman, but other than that, Burns is more of that offensive guy that has some defensive ability, and the rest of them I'm not really afraid of. So I don't mind targeting Jack Eichel. I think he's definitely going to if he doesn't shoot the puck on net 5 times a game, then the coach should be in his ear, and he has not done it yet this year. He needs to be firing that puck more. I'm sure Housley's going to be in his ear for it. So I'm not turning him off yet either, but I think it's mainly those 3 guys.
Yeah. So I think the thing that's worth, I don't know. I don't know how much we can actually know about what they're going to do. But the Sharks are really the one team in the league that I still really rely on matchups for, just because the Sharks coach is so intent on matching up Marc-Edouard Vlasic against what he deems to be the other team's top line. Last year, when the Sabres were in San Jose with a fully healthy Jack Eichel in March, they actually decided to shut down and blanket Vlasic on the Ryan O'Reilly line. So that is something to consider when looking at Eichel. I think they would blanket him on Eichel again, but there is an argument. I don't think that's a set in stone, a necessity. If they had put Vlasic on Eichel last year as well, I would probably say I'm staying away. But because that might be an option, maybe Eichel is also in play.
Well, where do you want to put your best defenseman tomorrow? You can't have him out there against Kane and Eichel if they're not in the same line, which is what it's looking like, right? They're not playing together next game. So you're going to have one guy in a good matchup at the end of the day. You probably put your best defenseman on Eichel. He is the most talented player. You have to find a way to slow him down, which New Jersey did to many surprise. So, yeah, I think you might just want to go Kane and cash, but I think Eichel's always a GPP game slate breaking ability kind of guy. So maybe not for cash tomorrow, which is weird to say.
And I think just some notes on a couple really cheap wingers. Actually, I haven't seen recent San Jose lines, given they played last on Saturday. But looking at last game, Kevin Labanc seems stuck on that first line with Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski. He scored 2 goals in the season opener, and then he played the full game with them last time out. So I think he's very much in play, especially with his line 2 time, or power play 2 time, I should say. And then the other note is Sam Reinhart has been completely removed from the Sabres power play as of Wednesday. So, he's not playing in a premium role with Eichel or O'Reilly. He's not on the power play. Even as cheap as he is, he's just not in play. So don't get suckered into saying, oh, well, Reinhart and Eichel. I've heard of that before. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Well, do you want to move into creating a lineup?
Yes, let's build a lineup.
Goalie is really weird. I'm just going to start by saying that in general. The most expensive goalie is Martin Jones against the Sabres, which is kind of surprising, but not really. I don't think I'd pay up for him, especially in cash. I think if you're doing cash, I'd honestly consider Vasilevsky against Pittsburgh on a back-to-back as far as getting the win. Or Connor Hellebuyck. How do you say his last name? I don't want to say it wrong.
I think it's just
Hellebuyck.
I think it's
Hellebuyck.
Hellebuck.
So those two are kind of jumping out to me. He had a really, really nice game against Edmonton. I think, he will defend the cage against the Canucks. What are your thoughts? Just go with him? At 7.5, I don't think you're going wrong with him. At 7.6, Vasilevsky's in play. But, so I am just going to add in Morrissey now. And are you good with Brent Burns?
Fine by me.
Okay. So you got a couple guys you want to take?
Let's see. I think I want to try and fit in PK Subban as well, assuming that Yossi is out. If Yossi is in, I think Yossi is a fine play for just actually the exact same price. So.
Okay, I want Kucherov. If Kucherov is playing, and he will be, then Kucherov is going to be in my lineup.
Okay, so we have 4.6 per position for 2 centers and 2 wingers.
Point?
Okay. Braden Point, let's do it.
I'm down for Point. Kind of fits the mold. Is there a cheaper guy anywhere you want to go with? Is there one center that we really want in there? I mean, we mentioned some guys, but
I'm looking at Labonte. I think he's definitely in play at wing. Also, Martin Frick, we could play him, get that Detroit exposure. Let's do.
And we have 5.
Let's do it. Doug will love that.
All right. That would throw us 5.2 for center. Not the best range. I mean, Mika Koivu gets a ton of minutes, but his DFS upside's pretty low.
Yeah, we could probably go with someone like Dvorak as well, and then upgrade Labonte or Frick to someone.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Let me give this a look quick. I was kind of about to toy with something when you mentioned. It's just short. Yeah, Vander Kane. We're just off of Vander Kane.
Oh, that sucks. Okay.
We have Point, Dvorak, LeBlanc, Kane, Kucherov, Morrissey, Burns. I mean, if we come down, let's just say for the sake of argument, we come off of Subban and go Hedman or Ehlers or whatever. But why don't we just put in Hedman for now? Obviously, these are subject to change. Maybe you have another idea in mind. This is not a cash lineup that's a set in stone, but just kind of a building block. But we have Braden Point, Christian Dvorak, Kevin LeBlanc, Evander Kane, Nikita Kucherov, Josh Morrissey, Brent Burns, Connor Hellebuyck, and Victor Hedman. That is, a lineup with Kane, Kucherov, Burns, and Hedman, and I feel pretty good about it. So it's really fun, mainly because we did throw in Josh Morrissey at 3.1, but again, we're mentioning it now. He's pretty slam dunky.
He's
he's extremely in play. If Bufflin miraculously comes back, which it's looking extremely unlikely.
He's already been ruled out.
So it would literally be a miracle. So with that being said, I am going to promise the guarantee goals tomorrow. I'm going to set an alarm in my phone right now, actually, and I will tweet them out for anyone that, I don't know, prefer them to be tweeted as well. But I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to set it for 6 p.m. If you're wondering, I will try to tweet them an hour before the slate every time. If I forget and you're in the chat, send me a message. If you just want to send us a tweet on Twitter, whatever. Matt, do you have any takes right off the bat?
hot takes.
Well, it doesn't
I don't
have to be
know.
that hot. I mean,
I don't know
you're
how
allowed to go
spicy
whatever
I'm
you
gonna get.
want.
All right. Well, I'm guessing you want Kucherov. I won't take him from you because you are the one who put him in the lineup.
All right, fine. I guess I'll take him. Darn it.
All right. Give me. Okay. Give me Nino Niederreiter. Guaranteeing a goal from him, and then from this 6K range, give me Eichel. Eichel scoring.
Ooh.
Who are we kidding? Eichel. I mean, Eichel's the man.
Oh man, that's awesome. Dude, honestly, with Kucherov, it's kind of tough to pick another guy. Oh man, like 4.1 is like the most I could do, and 4.1 is kind of like cheating almost.
No. I mean, I basically picked a 4.7 guy to go with Eichel, who's the same price as Kucherov.
So we're cheating now. Oh, okay. All right. How about, man? I don't know.
We've
This
just
is
been
tough.
trying to keep it under 12K.
We're keeping under 12K now.
Well, I mean,
Okay, you're
it's
right.
like-
We were 12K. That was the plan.
It's like mid 11.5, like that range.
All right, fine. I'll go with Nikita Kucherov, who I may have mentioned. And all right, hold on. Let me get this. Matthew Perreault.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Man,
1 for 1. Honestly, though, 4 shots on goal last game. I really think that.
Sweaty.
Yeah, I said it right too. And honestly, like he is just like an advanced analytics like guy, and I don't know. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. He's on that first power play. Like I don't know. I think I even said his name right when I said the first power play. Don't quote me on it.
I believe you did. So.
Oh my dear Lord! All right, we got to stop the podcast now before I say it wrong. But
props to DJ on that one. So,
yes.
In recap, we have Eichel, Niederreiter, Kucherov, Perreault.
Oh,
goals. So,
man, undefeated on saying his name tonight. That is, we need an award. We need a 5-star review just for that.
Yeah. Someone in the comments or in the reviews, just write Perreault, throw in a parento, and then go Perreault.
And I will sing it and mess it all up.
And that'll be some of the greatest comedy.
And if you'd like to put a tune attached to it, I could try to fit that tune.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of editing work, so I don't care. I'm not putting in a song.
No, I'll just do it. I'll just when I sing it, I'll put it to a tune.
Oh,
you don't have to actually put in the tune.
So we got to book a recording studio, get some instruments, a conductor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My buddy has a drum set, so I'll just have him keep a beat for me.
Perfect. All right. Anything else that you have off the top of your mind about the slate, about anything, life in general?
Have a good weekend, everybody. Actually, tomorrow's only Thursday, but I don't have class on Friday, so it feels like a weekend. Do that. Follow us on Twitter at MorningscapePod. Put that website right, Morningscape Pod website right in your bookmarks and/or favorites and/or front. Like that could just be your homepage. Whatever you got to do. You're gonna need that. And then write us review, multiple reviews. Tell your significant other to write us a review, even if they hate us because we have to listen to us in the car. But make it 5 stars. Do all that.
Yes, do what DJ said. So, for DJ, for the Studying Doug, and for myself, thank you for listening to the Morningscape Pod. Have a good slate, everyone, and we will see ya.